just feel your body in your chair, your hands where they're resting on your legs, your back against the chair, nice soft neck. Let the top of your head just float up, open up. And notice if you feel any energy in the palms of your hands or really anywhere in your body. We've been together for almost 2 days now doing work about energy, feeling it, giving it, receiving it, exploring it. And I know that you feel differently than when you came here on Friday. So just enjoy that space. Enjoy what it's giving you. Enjoy how it's opening you, healing you, filling you up. So you may, whenever you're ready, open your eyes or keep them closed, whatever feels right to you. Our first question tonight is, how, Kryon, do we maintain our balance in a world that seems crazy out there and chaotic, or we don't know what's going to happen next or where? We don't know where we're going to be, if we're going to have a job, what the economy's like. How do we find our own personal balance in that?
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Before the questions are answered, we wish to set an energy in the room of congratulations, of honor. We wish to remind you this. It is a sacred moment, one that is known by God in advance, not because there is predestination, but because the potentials are so strong that would bring you here, that here you are. If we were to go back in what you call your time, the potential existed when the meeting was struck, when the agreements were made, before the chairs were counted. The potentials that you would see and feel and interpret the energy were all here. And here you are this day sitting in the chair, whether you've been here for 2 days or you just arrived. An appointment is at hand. And the answers to the questions are not the subject here. For we speak in what is called the third language. Yet again, we explain this as the catalyst language, the one that you sit in and soak up the love of God. And if you'll allow it, these moments will bring you closer to that which is and what is called the multidimensional self. For lurking, and we use the word lurk because it is not clear where it is to you, lurking in every single human being is that which vibrates very high. An extremely complex system, a plan, a benevolence, a love in every single one. Enhanced by the ancestors that you are and have been and are around. And now in this assemblage, also enhanced by the ones you've loved and lost who are here. So let us make it clear one more time. Who is here? You have the human being who's alive and well, sitting in the chairs, well enough to sit in the chair. And you have the others. And oh, human being, you want to singularize them, you want to say who they are, you want to give them names, and I will tell you, it's an entourage and it's an assembly that is bigger than you can imagine, who knows who you are, knows the reasons you came to sit. And during this time we call Q&A, it won't be for them. For you are opening your hearts and your minds for a little while, suspending reality for a moment in time. And they know that, so that perhaps they can whisper things to you while you are partially out of linearity. And perhaps you will even smell them, feel them touch you, and know that I am correct, that all things work together in a plan. Listen, there is no such thing as death. There is no sting in this. It is simply a recalibration. And when it occurs, and you return new, young, you return with full knowledge of all the spirituality that you've ever learned, dear ones. Should you choose to work with it, you can. There are those in this audience, in this assemblage, who need to hear this before I answer the first question, and it is so. When you were born, you knew your direction. You knew that contract was to come back as a light worker. You knew at some intuitive level. But with free will and free choice, many of you did nothing. And then there were some who did, and many who awakened to purpose and realized that they were more than they thought, that God was bigger than you were told. And then there are the ones, and I know who you are, sitting here now, and it's just happening now. And so I want to say congratulations for an awakening which is profound, for you will never be the same. May you walk out of this place differently than you came in. May the love of God hover upon you, and you would feel it so strongly that you would smile, even in the rain. Question has been asked about balancing. The word chaos has been used. It has to be worrisome in your culture to see what is taking place in this economy, in this country, and that is what we are addressing. Although I will tell you what happens here will happen in the rest of the world, it is the way it is. And this country often sets standards that usually then become that which is practiced elsewhere. One of the reasons you are here is because of that. For the old soul whose consciousness changes this country, changes earth. But dear ones, don't use the word chaos, because that's not what's happening here. You want to see chaos? I present this in the most loving manner I can. I want you to bless what you have and congratulate yourselves on the recalibrating economy, although it may be difficult. But it isn't chaos. You've seen chaos. And there are humans on this earth right now looking at chaos. Oh, let me take you to Haiti. Living in cardboard boxes without food. Orphans without parents who used to have them. And nobody cares. That's chaos of the highest order, and it is survival. And there will be those who simply don't make it. You don't have chaos here, and you're not going to have it. You've got to start understanding what is taking place so that you can relax within it and work the puzzle. There will be those perhaps who have lost their jobs, maybe even their homes. You're still eating. You're still loved. You may even still have transportation and hope. That's not chaos. What this country has done in these last years is what we foretold you would do. 3 years before that which you call the recession, I told you it would take place. It is published in the Kryon books that some of the largest corporations in this fine country would fall. That one of the largest institutes would fail, called insurance, and it did. It was number one. And these have crashed for a reason, because the old system of banking, insurance, and greed cannot stand up with a new consciousness. And in the process, the fine balance is to take them to that point, not where they will crash, but where they can still sustain the economy in a marginal way, so there isn't chaos, so there is food, and there is caring, and there is health care, while they rebuild. Give yourself another 3 years. Watch it start to improve. The rules are so new that even those that call themselves bankers don't know what to do with their money. Too new. Still demonstrations outside that which you call the exchange, showing disapproval even now with the system of greed. Watch for a balance to occur that is fairer for all. Watch for banking and insurance to start progressing to something that it always should have been, but never could achieve in an old energy of greed. Oh, also watch for some steps backwards and then forwards. For the greedmongers are always there. And they will try things to pull it backwards, to get their way. Only this you'll watch. For the first time, public outcry will create an almost instant reversal every single time they try, and that's a first. In the past, when they wanted to pass those kinds of rules so they would make more and take less from you and more from you as they deemed proper in their own minds, all they had to do was do it. And now they can't, because everyone is watching. And what did we tell you some years ago? There would come a time when everyone can talk to everybody, and there can be then no secrets. This is the key. It is the key for you in your endeavors to hold the light in this country. We'll build a new system, slowly, that will then create again the kind of abundance you were used to. The unemployment rate will start going down. And you will recover. And you remember these words and the timing. And perhaps then you can look back and say, it was worth the effort. It was worth the effort. Balance yourselves, light workers, and understand what is going on. It's what you signed up for. It's why you're here. I dare you to celebrate the recession.
Thank you. So the second question is a couple of parts here. What, if any, are the physical symptoms of ascension? And am I not being spiritual if I go to the doctor? And at what point do I seek medical attention?
Fine questions indeed, for they start a discussion that is appropriate and true. Knowledge that should be given to the light workers about these things have to do with a fine line you walk, indeed, in your culture, in your society. Part 1. The question about the symptoms that are physical about ascension is easy. Look for joy. Look for joy. Can you be among the ones who think it's chaotic in your economy and be joyful? If you can, that's a physical sign. Can you be joyful in the presence of chaos? Can you go to work at a company who's been cut to the quick, and you're one of the few who's left doing twice the amount of work at half the pay? And can you be joyful being there? Even though others show up and complain, can you be joyful there? That is a symptom of ascension. It is easy. It is easy. So there are those who are saying, I can't do it. I hear you. I want to take a moment and lay my hand on you. It is not that hard. When you can take the hand of Spirit, it isn't that hard. If you're going to go it alone, it is hard. And that's the difference. I can hear your tears. And that's the difference. And we pause. And I clear my partner's mind. I don't want him to feel what I see. How long is it going to take you to cross this barrier and take the hand of Spirit when it's outstretched the way it is? Invention, science, medicine on this planet has all increased in the delivery of its sophistication by design. Have you ever seen or noticed that invention on the planet happens simultaneously in many places at the same time? This would tell you, would it not, that consciousness is a field, and then when it's right for these things, they are placed upon consciousness, and many humans receive it at the same time. The invention of flight was a race to who could do it first. Almost within days, you won. Invention of the radio, all given at the same time. Even today, disputed who did it first. And so we tell you that that which your doctors have, the sophistication that they have, the instruments they have, all God-given. It's a combination of going to those who are medical doctors and that which you can do yourself. It's a combination. It always has been. It always will be. Always will be. Until that time when your DNA works at 100% and you can heal your body instantly. But at this juncture where you have DNA working at 30%, there is only so much you can do for yourself. You can start a process, and then you can have the doctor measure it. The teacher Sid is walking today differently because of a miraculous operation that he underwent weeks ago. And that is not something he could have done himself, not yet. Even the healer had to take advantage of that which was God-given to the doctors of the planet. And he is alive today, walking today, will live longer today, and be a healer in a place that needs it. Do you understand what I'm saying? In all appropriateness, use the things that your intuition will tell you you need from that which you call the medical profession, which is God-given. The knowledge, the instruments, the technology, all appropriate, all for you. It's a combination. There will be some things that you can do for yourself that used to be that which you'd go to a doctor for. Innate is going to become a sharper instrument. That is to say, it will be able to do things now with you and for you, especially chemical balance in the body that can never be done before without the assistance of drugs. There'll come a time, and not too far, where light workers will be able to only take a fraction of the insulin for diabetes. It'll be almost like a tincture in homeopathy. They'll still be able and must have an injection, but it'll be extremely small compared to what they used to have in the insulin, giving a signal to the body in what to do instead of having the drug do it. This is what you're to look for. Certain kinds of medications that you're taking now, you might experiment in cutting them back very, very slowly and safely, measuring what is taking place, finding that you might not need as much because the innate is starting to work better. DNA is starting to be more improved in the percentage of efficacy. You understand? This is the new energy. Don't do anything foolish, but push the envelope.
The next question concerns the evolution of the human's consciousness and how it is in relationship to the rest of the universe as we evolve.
Incredibly insightful. And given by somebody who already knows the answer, or they could not have constructed the question. One modifies the other. From the beginning, we have told you that this planet is a test of energy. It's not a test of humans. Do you understand the difference? It's a test of energy. In what direction and vibration will the energy of the planet go when measured by those entities called human beings, which are really angels in disguise, walk among that which we call the entities of Gaia? The test of Earth is about the universe. And we have told you this, it is the only planet of free choice, the only one. If you want to know the lineage of how this has worked, a benevolent God creating the universe with intelligent design, there's a plan. And there are planets that are populated even today that used to be the only planets of free choice. One of them, which will become nameless, is your seed. And that is in the Pleiadians. And they were the last one. They passed the torch to you. Approximately 100,000 years ago, the earth began to be seeded. The creation story is well known, has been told over and over by myself, and now the earth sits in that fulcrum of testing. And it will do so for a great amount of time, until the vibratory level is high, or not, when it is tested finally. Not in your lifetime, not in the next lifetime, not in the next 10 lifetimes will this take place. There is much time left for this planet to be then measured. Let me rewind what you call your time clock, and let us go back almost 200,000 Earth years. And I want to place yourself not here, but on a nameless planet where the Pleiadians are, in the Seven Sisters. And they were on the cusp of graduation. Let me describe a planet that is at peace. Oh, dear ones, they're here. You know they are. There's a benevolent, caring seed of you. And they shine like the sun. They became quantum. They became multidimensional. They found their higher selves. And their planet had a complete and different purpose: to seed yours, to watch over yours, to make sure that the test was accurate and true. Oh, dear ones, I'll tell you something I've never said before. This is a sophisticated group. You need to hear it. It's the Pleiadians who keep the riffraff away from you. And they do a good job, so that the test will be unmolested. I told you once that this planet is hidden. That most of the planets with the kind of life that would sustain that which is like humans have two suns. And there's a reason, because two suns create a far greater chance of life beginning and photosynthesis to take place. You lost one of them. You only have one sun. So those who are looking for life are looking in the wrong place. If you want validation of this, I will tell you this. Your astronomers are looking for planets. Over 1,000 of them have been discovered so far. They've just found one with two suns. It exists, and they're going to find more. And as these things unfold, you will see the prophecies of Kryon. And the words from me are starting to make sense. Now this earth holds a test. Go back with me 200,000 years. On the other planet, in the Seven Sisters, there was indeed a graduation. I cannot explain this to you, for it's not in 3D. But let me tell you this, that when that planet was measured and seen for what it became, the rules of this galaxy changed. Your universe is this galaxy. Other galaxies, different rules. Other galaxies, different physics. There is no one physics for the universe. So think only on your galaxy. That which is in the middle contains energy you have not yet discovered. You have no idea what it is or why it is. It is a multi-dimensional energy that defies all physics ever known. It's far grander than a black hole. It's part of the plan. It provides communication. There's even spirituality there. The universe, made of these galaxies, all have tests going on. In this galaxy of yours, you are the only planet of free choice. 200,000 years ago, this galaxy changed phenomenally. The rules changed because of the Pleiadians. You're the next step. Now, here's what you should know. The alignment that you're in, the 36 years you're in, all of these things coming to a fulcrum, to the midpoint of the solstice, is the grandest thing we have ever expected and seen from you. Over and over, you have failed to cross the bridge until now. And you can find many prophecies that said you wouldn't. That's how common it is. You'll find more prophecies that said you wouldn't cross this bridge than those who said you would. And you're sitting right in the middle of the bridge and crossing it. I speak perhaps in terms that are metaphoric, so let's clear it. My partner is saying, say it again, clearer. This planet is headed for the same place the Pleiadian planet made it. And this is the 5th try and it's working. And you have free choice to do anything you want with it. But when the Soviet Union fell over, and when the other things that you see started to fail, that used to then promote that dark energy, including what you call the Illuminati, they're not here. Oh, they're lurking. But they're not controlling anymore. The internet would never have happened had you not had this enlightened place to put it, where everyone could talk to everyone, enhancing and accelerating this light of yours. Yes, the Pleiadians had the internet. How can I be clearer? You can take this anywhere you want to, but the ball is rolling. The relationship between you, your ascension, what you do here, the crystalline grid, affects this galaxy right in the middle and changes the rules. And right now I'm telling you, you look to be just like those who seeded you. Congratulations. And remember, it's not over. You can do anything you want with this. You can pull it backwards, or you can keep it going. Light worker, that's why you're waking up.
Kryon, you've spoken about the new earth. Can you tell us if that's been changing, and where exactly is it?
Question was just answered. You're sitting upon it. The new earth is the description of a planet that no longer has energy, which will take you to war. The new earth is a description of a planet who is ripe and ready for human beings to live a great deal longer than they live. Doing it on their own, through chemical balance, through DNA enhancement, through medical science, through supplements, through discovery. The new earth is an earth that looks so different from the one of 100 years ago that a visitor coming back 100 years later and arrives today will say, "What happened here?" You sit upon it. You're part of it. And the promise is great.
Kryon, you've written books and spoken a lot about our indigo children. How can we, as parents, and even those of us who are not parents, support children with ADD and ADHD diagnoses, and how can we honor them in the public school system that we have now?
Let us be clear that Spirit did not identify them as indigo. A human did. For Spirit, these children are simply children of new consciousness. Now, my partner made a point earlier to say that there is no such thing as generalization of consciousness. And just as it is true that every single one of you is remarkably different from your lives, from what you believe, to the path you're leading, spiritual beliefs, and what you must do. Every child who enters this planet of new consciousness is at different levels of it. The ones who are the highest level, that is to say, the ones who are the most quantum, you have a name for. Autistic. They are savants. They have no linear barriers in their brain. They are ultimate uber conceptuals. And they have an incredibly difficult time with your linearity. The parents in here of an autistic child know that when you speak to them and they look at your voice, if they will even look in your eyes, they can't understand it. You can see their brain struggling to put the words in a row, to place them in their brains in a row. That's how you speak. That's the linearity you have, and they don't. and they struggle to linearize. You're going to discover how to work with the autistics eventually. And it's going to come with you becoming more conceptual and giving them burst information that they can understand. And it may take some technology that you have not seen. You go on down that scale of enlightened conceptual human beings that are being born now, and you have then what I would call the mode, the average. The children are coming in far, far less linear. And so that is to say, they want discipline, they want understanding, and they want teaching in conceptual ways. They have scoped the energy of the puzzle and have the answers ready before you open the door. They know what they know long before you tell them what they should. In school, they're bored. They're bored. You cannot give them pablum when they see so much more the whole meal. Learn how to teach these children conceptually. Number one, give them the meal first. Give them the payoff right away, and then find out what they want to know about it. It's backwards. You start by giving them the facts leading up to the payoff. If you're going to teach algebra, you have to start with math. You have to start with the principles. You have to start with this and that. Why not start with algebra and ask them what they don't understand? You see the point? Show them what's happened on the earth. Give them a synopsis of human history and ask them what they'd like to know about. There is a new way of teaching afoot. And it's exactly backwards than you think, and the children are going to rise to the occasion, and it will be a challenge. It will be exciting. It will be a puzzle. And you're going to have to work harder at it because each child is going to have a different path. There are schools operating in this way right now. Study them and see them and try to slowly implement these things where they're not being implemented. And now the obvious. Don't wring your hands and wonder what is going to become of these children. Let me tell you what's going to become of these children. They're going to be so disappointed in the way school works, they're going to become teachers and change it. You see? Look at their age. You got a 10-year-old who is struggling, not doing well, bored in school, having trouble, 10 years old. Look at the age. Now, how old is he in a decade? A simple decade. Old enough to be in that study group. Perhaps even to have graduated and be on the cusp of his degree to be a teacher. 10 years, that's all. It's happening sooner than you think. And then another 10, and they will be the principals, the administrators, what you call the bean counters. It will make a difference. It's on its way. So understand what I'm saying. That the consciousness now is not going to stay now. And yes, you may have to have the old energy stay until it retires. And some of you know exactly who I'm talking about. And then the opening comes. And you'll start to slowly see the change. Oh, dear ones at home, if you have these children, this is so difficult of a concept to understand. They know about your relationship at home more than you do. They know the energies, the difficulties, the puzzles. They're not like you used to be. These children have a concept of life. They have a concept of consciousness. My partner tells the story, and I will as well, that in an older energy, when parents fight, the children hide. For it threatens the very survival of their hearts. Worst thing that the children could ever see would be trouble in the family. And you know the hurt that's there. and the fear in their eyes as you find them in the closet later after the yelling match is over. Ah, that is not the conceptual child. For the conceptual child will see what is happening, stand his ground, and offer suggestions. Conceptual puzzle solvers. What happens when a human being sees concepts? I will tell you, they are very fast to see the answers. A linear human has to walk through the linearity of the puzzle, piece by piece by piece. And by the time he gets to the last piece, he's forgotten the first. And the concept may never appear. And that explains politics. That's a Kryon joke. The children of new consciousness are also going to be your Congress people. And you're going to see conceptual solutions to problems that have been hanging on the shelf, unsolvable for decades. But when the conceptuals arrive, they'll see it as a group. Bam. Problem solution. They work together. You'll still have a party system. You'll still have disagreements, all of the things you have now. But you'll have concepts you've never seen. And there'll be some of you who will slap your heads and say, why didn't we think of that before? And the reason is because you're looking at a different kind of thinking. It's more enlightened. Oh, not all of the children are enlightened, but most of them are conceptual. They have the same opportunities you do to find that which is their higher selves. They're not born spiritual any more than you are, but they're born conceptual. So that's what you can do. And the final one is this. For the teachers in this group or listening to this channel, for the teachers, you've got to look into their eyes and treat them like your brother and your sister. You can't look at them and understand and figure out how old they are, what they might know or not know. You got to look at them like a peer and explain the issue like a peer and ask them what they would do and what they need. Instead of a situation where they sit in front of you and you're the adult and they're not, and they're just going to do what they're told. That's not going to work. They know better. They pick it up right away. They will dishonor you if you do not honor them. And some of the parents have already figured that out.
This question is about the consciousness of Gaia and human consciousness. And did that consciousness we call Gaia have a choice in incarnating as Earth instead of human?
An intellectual question. So now I give you the lineage, and you will understand better. You think of Mother Earth as the grandmother. Naturally, in your bias as human beings, mothers give birth, mothers nurture, mothers give instructions. They cook meals, they take care of you, they are the authority. Gaia is not. Gaia laid null and void until the humans started building the crystalline grid. And as the humans built consciousness, they gave life to Gaia. Therefore, Gaia, and the entity that you would call that which is the mother, became Gaia through the efforts of you. That is why Gaia reacts to your consciousness. As my partner was saying earlier today, the scientists have seen it. It is why Gaia reacts to what you do. Gaia is there as a nurturer. Big as it is, it exists to comfort you based upon what you have created, which is called Gaia. Therefore, it is backwards than what you think. I have told you these things before, dear ones. You and I, all of you, stood and watched this planet you call Earth develop from a piece of molten dirt. And in that, you and the consciousness of the piece of God's you are, put Gaia together. And as you then became humanity, you put the salt of your energy into the planet. And it then honored you. The portals of the planet are your resting places for the old souls. The cave of creation, which is that place where the Akashic record is located, beautiful for you, created for you. Therefore, it is Gaia who reflects human nature, human consciousness, the energy, and it is Gaia, ultimately, that the measurement is taken to find out how the earth is doing.
Well, this is our last question we have time for. And this question comes from a clarification about what you speak about, this side of the veil or that side of the veil, and the coming and going from one to the other. And will there ever be an evolution that makes that something that consciousness and incarnations don't do, and we all become totally luminous?
Let's ask a Pleiadian. And they're here. When they seeded the earth, you won't find any bodies. You know they stayed, don't you? They had to. And they committed what they would call their soul lifetime to your planet. But you're not going to find any bodies. Now, why would that be? Ask an Aborigine about the ones who had the names which were not pronounceable. Ask the Aborigine about the 7 sisters, and he and she will tell you that they landed there, and they landed there. And they took up residence here, and you couldn't go there. No one could. It was too sacred. And how long ago was that? 30, 40,000 years? And this day, right this minute, they're guarding the same places and saying they're still there. They feel the energy. I'm giving you a roundabout answer to a very good question. The Pleiadians are in graduate status. They no longer incarnate because they don't die. The cold sore, that which is the core of the soul, is connected so strongly because they have quantumized all that they are, that they become the singular soul. Now my partner is saying, stop and start again. And I will. In the cave of creation right now there is crystalline, and that crystalline represents your soul. One soul, many lifetimes. You have to understand this. Like rings in a tree, you have one soul with many lifetimes. Right now your higher self is your best friend, and it has been your higher self every single incarnation. Therefore, if you want to touch the Akash, you better get in touch with the one who's been there every single time. That's you. It's the core. Now imagine a time where you become so integrated that you no longer need death. And instead, you come and go from one side of the veil to the other, just like you'd walk from one room to the other. You can hardly tell whether you're a creature of God or that of a planet. And at that point in time, the planet does not stop. It's hard to imagine such a place where it would seem to be half virtual and half in 3D, but that is what it is. There'll come a time when the actual planet itself of the Pleiadians disappear, and they know it. when they have elided what they have in their vernacular as their Gaia becomes a high enough a consciousness, it will be just like them. Yes, as you come to a place where you are able to touch your higher self, and this spreads to other humanity, and it's not in this generation or the next one or the next one or the next one. We are talking about a lot of years. You know that. And when it takes place, and it could, just like it did there will be no death. There's 2 places on the planet right now that are very, very Pleiadian. You might say they have decided to reside there in their multidimensional states where there is no time, where they wait for you to do something. And now I present it to you. In the mountain called Shasta, they're there. Climb the mountain. You'll see them. Some of them will show themselves. They love you. You're a sister and a brother. The original teachers of Lemuria reside in the island of Kauai. And that is why that island has never been and never will be conquered by a king, by military, or government. It cannot be. For they live there. And they wait. They never died. They've been on this planet as long as the planet sustained enlightenment. 100,000 years. What are they waiting for? I'll tell you what they're waiting for. They're waiting for what you're doing right now. If you pass this 36-year timeline and plant the seeds that we think you're planting, that we see that you're planting very slowly, and sometimes what you think chaotically, you're going to cross that bridge that we said you were going to cross 22 years ago. And I promise you there'll come a day when you're going to meet them. And they're going to say to you, well done, sister. Well done, brother. And then and only then can they go home. And it won't be long past that you'll start to understand what it's like to ascend. Now that's the far future. And it's speculation based upon potential. It's not fortune telling. It's predisposed, not predestined. Big words. So let us finally return to where we started. You're going to have to balance. I told my partner to shut it out, and he did. I told my partner not to feel what I saw, so that he wouldn't come away with anything out of integrity. For it's not up to him to see those in this room who have secrets, or in trouble, or in confusion. But I see it. And I don't want to let this group of precious old souls leave this room without taking the hand that is theirs in the higher self. At least try it. And leave different. It is so available. And so difficult at the same time. For you to believe it, or believe you need it, or for some of you even to want it that bad. Fear of enlightenment is always there. Oh, shaman. Let's talk about the shaman and those in the audience. You got 3 of them, 1 credentialed. I know who's here. Think I don't know who's sitting here. What possessed you to get that namaker? What possessed you to become that which is the shamanic? And I will tell you, because this is what you did before. Only before it didn't turn out real well, if you know what I mean. And so you had to cross that bridge. And that's what you teach. How to get through the fear of enlightenment. Because old souls have made mistakes in the past when they awakened. And those in the villages saw them as different, burned them as witches, whatever. And here you are again. Witch and warlock. Shaman, holy men, holy women. I've said it before. What is the attribute of a holy man in the tribe? Do you remember? You got to live outside the tribe because you're too strange. You are shunned, so you live alone. But you're the first one they come to for help, right? Now does that ring a bell? And here you sit yet again. I want you to cross that bridge. Don't fear it. It's back, but it's back in an energy that is so different. The Pleiadians are in the room. And they're comforting you. In a way, your soul group is their children. Ancestors that are Lemurian in this room. You knew them. You saw their faces. Think of that. Cross the bridge. Don't be afraid. And here's the promise that we give you. In this new energy, you will not be seen as odd, strange, and different. You will be seen as balanced. That's the difference. Isn't it time for this? Let it begin this night in every heart here. And so it is.
So why don't you come into a quiet place? And start by just letting your body get relaxed in the chair. Taking a couple of gentle breaths in and out. And not letting the mind say what's next. Just being in the heart of now. And letting your being, your heart, be receptive, be open, be present to the one, all that is perfection, the love in the room, the love of the divine that surrounds us, that lives in us, that lives through us as one, beautiful, divine. Where there is only that presence and no separation. The loving presence of the one heart, the one love, the one wisdom, the one light. And in that light that we share, in that love that we share, is the honoring and loving message from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Before we begin, we ask you again to change the reality of your thinking slightly from normal. What is happening? Who is speaking? Where is it coming from? I asked my partner to completely step aside and to let flow tonight what should flow. Can you think out of the box of what you know? The most difficult thing for humanity in general is to go to a place they've never been. Survival depends upon you going places you know about. If you've never been someplace, you'd be hesitant to go there. It just makes sense. You won't open a door when it says unknown. You'll open the door that says known, because you're comfortable with that. And the entire reason I bring this up is for what is next. I wish to enhance what you know about humanity. In order to do that, I will speak of controversial things. Those listening to this message after the fact may have been asked by others to listen. They will have a complete different perception that you will in this room. But this room contains an energy that cannot be duplicated on a recording. Those of like mind set up a confluence of consistency and belief. You might say that your belief here enhances the truth that you carry. I want to talk about humanity. I want to enhance humanity. I would like to tell you some of the things that took place in perhaps ways I have not before, to broach some subjects that maybe you're interested in. I do these things because all of the teaching tonight is to enhance the human experience, to show you you're bigger than you think. You may have been here longer than you know, and it's beautiful. When you think of human history, how far does it go back? If you look it up, how far does it go? Now, the common consensus of historians in general, and that which would be given to you by planetary scientists and authorities, has you only here for approximately 11,000 years. Now, I'm talking about societies. I'm not talking about a human in a biological sense, because there's been the evolution of humanity, and that's for anthropologists. I'm talking about sociology. How long have cities been here, systems been here, religion been here? How long does your science say that there's evidence of these things? Now, this may seem like a rehash of something we've discussed before, but it's more than that. In Istanbul, Turkey, we sat in front of a large group and gave a channel called Unknown History. This is similar, but different. But the premise is the same. You've been around a lot longer than 10 or 11,000 years. Now, go slowly, my partner, so this is succinct and makes sense. Everything you have that you can study, dear ones, about humanity and civilization stops about 10,000 to 11,000 years ago. It appears as though that is when it all got started. When the cities sprang up, When you go back far enough, one of the first ones you will see that had a succinct consciousness of organization was that which took place in the Indus Valley, which you call Sumeria. Almost 11,000 years. It looked like the first one. And everything past that follows the rules of linearity, synchronicity of discovery. One thing led to another, and you come up with the pyramids and so on and so forth. And this is your history. Now, metaphysically, we have channeled to you over and over that humanity is almost 50,000 years old, as you know it, that has had organization, civilization, cities, consciousness, evolution. You only see 10 of it. Where is the truth here? Why is it you cannot see what I say was there before then? Was there some kind of an event that might have erased what was formerly there to such a degree it doesn't show up to the archaeologists, to the historians, in the way that it does 10,000 years ago? And the answer is yes. There are all manner of things that I could lead you through right now. But what I want to do is plant seeds of information and truth that will enhance history, not challenge it. I am not here to rewrite things out of a belief that you have. I am here to add on to what you've been told. And what I say now and tonight may seem fanciful. After all, it's channeling. And those listening to this in the future, the far future, will smile because what I'm going to tell you now will finally be discovered at some time. It's only a matter of generations before you have certain kinds of instruments and examination that will show you the kinds of things that I'm going to explain to you now. Some things will never be seen. They can't be. Without a time machine, there's no way. You can go back far enough to see what I'm going to talk about. Let me interrupt this channel for something that seemingly is non sequitorious. In other words, it's out of the logic of the channel story, but it isn't. There is an overwhelming feeling among old souls on this planet that you have existed before in lifetimes that had advanced technology. Overwhelming. We've talked about it before. Those who believe they've had the sinking island syndrome. Atlantis. Which one and when? Doesn't matter. You all were part of an advanced civilization. This is the feeling you had. I'm not confirming or denying it. I am talking about the truth of your Akash. Overwhelmingly, there is an entire section of humanity that is convinced, because of the feelings they have through past life, revolution, or dreams, or whatever, that they've been part of an advanced civilization way before 10,000 years ago. Would you like me to acknowledge it? All right. It's correct. Absolutely. 100% correct. You don't have a time machine, or do you? You have an Akash. And in the Akash is what we want to talk about. The Akashic record of humanity is that which would expose past life energies to you. And some of the most energetic ones will come to the surface, not in a linear way, not in a year per year per year, but instead in an energetic way. That is to say, the energy shows itself. What was most dramatic? What took place that sticks with you? And that's what you remember, and that's what comes forward. And here you sit. And so many of you said, yes, I was there. I know it. I can feel it. I've had dreams about it. I've had readings about it. We were part of this. There was advancement. We had many things that you don't have now. You're right. And now I'm going to tell you why. And it's not what you think. It's hardly what you think. It's outside of the purview of logic or things that would make sense to you, so stand by. Something wonderful. The human brain is complex, but one of the simplest things it does is to analyze based upon only what it knows. It cannot analyze things it doesn't know about. Therefore, if you believe you are part of something called an advanced civilization, let's define what your brain will tell you you did. Well, if you had an advanced technological civilization, you would have simply better things than you have now. The computers would be more powerful. You'd have flying cars. You'll have laser energy. People getting healed on tables instantly. Long lifespans. Right? In nothing of the kind. Nothing of the kind. Isn't it funny about science fiction movies? There's nothing really new given to you. Only what you have that has been better developed. You only know what you know. So a science fiction movie about the future will simply have what you have now that works better. Better computers and flying cars. The idea of something completely and totally out of the box that you've never experienced yet, you think, will not be in a movie. Even the far thinkers that take you to outer space and look at other civilizations simply give you faster spaceships. Just more of what you know about, not what you don't know about. So I'm going to tell you what you don't know about. In order to make sense of this, we have to get a little cryptic. When Kryon, this that you've sensed, this energy, came to the planet originally, all those years ago, we gave you messages that said the magnetic grid of your planet is responsible for the activity of the enlightened consciousness. That is to say, that your DNA and the development of humanity is all tied in to the magnetic grid. I called myself the magnetic master, and now you know why. It's about the magnetic grid. Could it be that the magnetic grid of the planet is starting to change? We have given you channel after channel about that. We started by telling you it altered. It had to move dramatically in 10 years, more than it had moved in 100. Go find it in that which is the history of the measurement of the magnetic grid after 1987. The harmonic convergence. The grid had to move to prepare itself for something that's coming. What has the recent channels talked about that's coming? Let me review. You're moving into another part of space right now. This galaxy rotates around the middle. All of the stars moving at the same speed rotate relative to each other rotate around the middle. Your solar system is moving into a new place of space that it has never been in with human life existing. Oh, it's been there, but not with life. So it's the first time human consciousness has ever been where it's going. Ask an astronomer what's going on. And they will tell you that humanity, for the last 10,000 years, which is all they computed, has always been in a certain kind of bubble of radiation. That the heliosphere of the sun has cooperated with that. And suddenly, it's changing. What have you seen about the sun lately? It's changing. What have you seen about the weather lately? It's changing. It's all related to where your solar system is headed. I told you this. There have been 3 channels where I've mentioned it. We've asked you to look at the science about it to see if I'm right or not. Are you moving into a new kind of space or not? Go find it. And when you find it, maybe you'll believe it, because you're headed into a kind of space that has an interesting radiation to it that many think is dangerous. And what I'm going to tell you next is it's going to alter the magnetic field of this planet in a multidimensional way to enhance human development and evolution. You're going to get smarter, because the magnetic grid is ready for this. It always was. Past the precession of the equinoxes, dear ones, you were ready to evolve, and you had to have the physics for it. And that is what we're talking about. Now, why would I bring this up when I talk about an evolved race in the past? And now I will tell you. About 11,000 years ago, at the end of the last glacier age, a mini ice age if you wish, there were things happening on this planet. I want you to go find them right now. They have to do with what I will call unusual plasmic activity in the atmosphere. The magnetic grid was much, much different. Mass ejections from the sun, the kinds of things that the movies are made of, that would come and hit this planet's magnetic field, would charge it with different kinds of plasma. It's there for you to see. It's in the ice cores. It's in the magnetics that you would measure in the layers of the earth. It's been recorded. It was different then. And I want to tell you what it caused. First of all, it caused, at some point in time, because it got too strong, there was a lot of death. We have told you this before. You have had a situation where humanity has gone through at least 4 stages of civilization of different ages. And this is number 4, moving to number 5. We've told you about looking at number 3. In unknown history, you won't find anything. And one of the reasons, it's been obliterated. And it wasn't through weapons, it was through plasmic discharge. This planet had an atmosphere that was alive in a different way through sun's activity. And it charged the magnetic grid in a way that humanity developed DNA to at least 50%. You're at 30 now, 35 perhaps. What I want to tell you is if you've had lifetimes where you felt you were an advanced civilization, you were, because your consciousness was advanced, not your technology. You could do things you can't do now, and you could do them easily. You could heal your own body with your own consciousness. There were those who knew how to create things out of nothing. You could have seeming inventions that weren't inventions at all. They were you with you. A high consciousness of humanity which changes physics itself. Yes, you were there. Not with flying cars and lasers, but with a wisdom that you remember. And there's a reason for all of this. So that in your Akash, listen to me, You're not covering new ground as you evolve. Listen to me. You are instead bringing forward what you had. There has been already a pattern. An Akashic pattern exists within you to fast track the evolution that you're going through. You've been there before. How do you like it so far? Old soul, what you remember in an advanced civilization way beyond 10,000 years ago is starting to pattern itself now. It's not new, it's not unknown, and your Akash knows it, and your innate knows it. And as those human beings come into this planet that are new and are newborns, they're picking it up from their Akash. What has been will be. It's not new. You're coming back on it. We've talked about Atlantis. We've talked about the fact that not all of you, not millions of you, could have been on one sinking island. And yet you all believe you were. There's a metaphor there for the destruction of humanity for many reasons, and it was real, and you all went through it. Most of you were destroyed. And that was civilization number 3. Number 2 had its own reasons, mostly earth-based. The start over of number 4, that's what you are currently looking at as human history, only 10,000 years ago. Dear ones, you've been here for 50. Science will someday agree and see it for what it is. You're not that young. You're old. You've been here a long time. And your Akashic record is filled with these kinds of things. Do you see what I am saying today? You've got the building blocks of the future because you experienced it in the past, old soul. You're not going to be afraid of it. And when you start to experience it, it's going to be something that is comfortable to you. I want to ask you, look in the eyes of the indigo children that are going through some things. They are confident. They're not looking around scared that they're different. They're looking at you, wondering why you're not scared. They've been through this before. They're old souls. They're remembering that what is coming about in their consciousness and in their lives, they've been through before. Confidence in everything. You can see it. Let's talk about this Akashic record in a different way. You're having dreams, perhaps. I would like to tell you something. It's not fair. Your Akashic record is very, very biased. It is not going to read you your past lives in a linear way like you look at a book. Turn a page, who were you, what you did. Turn a page, who were you next and who you did. Turn a page, then what did you become? It's not interested. Because it deals with energy. Only energy. And there is a reason in this new energy for the kinds of reflections you are having, the dreams you are having. I'm speaking to at least 8 people in the audience. You want to know why you're thinking the way you're thinking, what's coming up at this time, why now are these things being presented, what's up with your dreams, why are you feeling the way you're feeling. Your Akashic record is overtime, and it's given you things to process. And the reason? Because you need to clear them. You're not going to go forward until you clear this stuff. That's the beauty of your innate. In your DNA, that which is most profoundly affecting your life based upon the past is going to come up and face you and ask for dismissal. Get rid of it. You're having some interesting dreams. Let's say you've drowned in the past life. Let's say that it might have been 1,000 lifetimes ago, but this is what you remember, and you have dreams of drowning. You can't breathe. You're gagging. You sit up overnight. There it is again, that dream. And what does a human do with that? It's so interesting. The first thing they go is for, what does it mean? What should I do about it? Now, that's accurate. What does it mean? What should I do about it? But they never analyze what it really means. They think it's prophecy. I'm going to drown. So I better not go by the water. It's a prophecy about the future. I'm having the dream over and over. Therefore, it must be something that is going to happen. So let's get afraid of it. It's not here to create fear. I'll tell you what it's about. That dream is about something happened to you that's affecting you even today. It's about your throat. It's about breathing. It's about many things. And it's got to be dismissed. If you will recognize it for what it is, being brought to you on a platter, old soul, and asking you to meditate upon it and say, thank you, Innate, thank you, Akash, for letting me see the sense of this. I'm not afraid of drowning. I'm not afraid of anything that's there anymore. It's not going to affect my life. I'm not afraid of the future. I will be happy to wade into the ocean or a lake without fear. That's what it's about. As long as there's something that is etched in your Akash that creates fear with you in dreams or past life experience kind of recognitions, it's going to hold you back. So what is starting to happen to old souls is that the lifetimes that are the most energetic, that contain the most dramatic things that are affecting your life, will be presented to you on a platter. How do you like it so far? And when it takes place, I implore you, do not be afraid of it. Do not manifest in fear around it, and don't think it's prophecy. It's not. It's you working with you. Dreams are this way. Old souls often have Akashic dreams. New souls, they're just getting used to the planet. They dream about other things. Old souls in this energy are starting to dream dreams that mean things. You have a dream about family. Only nobody's playing the role they should play, and nobody's in the right place. They couldn't be, because it doesn't make any sense. It's nonsensical. So you have a sister or a brother or a mother or a father. They've been in places they've never been, meeting people they never knew, acting oddly. Now, someone in here I'm talking to. What does something like that mean? And you wake up completely and totally disarrayed and confused. Wow, I'm going to be betrayed by my family. It's not a prophecy. And I laugh because this is so human. In order to take something you don't understand and then project it into fear. I want you to project it instead to this. What is the metaphor? What does it mean? Start looking and analyzing what took place. Nothing is literal. Nothing. Your Akash doesn't know literal. It knows multidimensional impressions and potentials. That's all it knows. And it gives it to you in linear dreams. You've got an unusual family in your dream doing unusual things. It's not your brother, your mother, your father, or your children. That is a metaphor for family. And it's a spiritual metaphor that's shifting. There is shifting taking place, and it's asking you to be circumspect with who you deal with. That's what it's about. All it takes is a little bit of analysis from that which is innate and intuition. There's all manner of these kinds of dreams you're being given today that are asking you to analyze, to realize, and dismiss. You're decoding your life. Old soul, you've had lifetime after lifetime in such old energies. You've warred and warred and then warred again. You've hated each other, you've killed each other. And you carry these things around in dreams. And some of them are so profound, and you've done it so often, that they affect your life. Mother, You got to stop dreaming about your kids dying. I'm talking to somebody else here. Just because they did before doesn't mean they're going to do it this time. You've all had children who died in your arms at birth, with your placenta blood on them. They never made it. They never made it. And this is a recurring fear, not of birth, but of death. It may come up in certain ways in your dreams of fear for only one reason, to present it to you saying, get rid of it. It's old energy. You're past that now. It's old energy. You're past that now. You're really past that now. But the old soul will continue to have the old things presented to them so they can get through them, dismiss them, discard them, and move forward. It's a lot of work, and that's why we call you a light worker. You've been there and you've done that. You've survived these civilizations, some of them advanced, where you had an advanced consciousness of wisdom that you're recapturing. You can't go to an advanced place with a dark remembrance on your consciousness. What's happened in these last 10,000 years, dear ones, is still there in your Akashic record, and some of it has to be dealt with. What a great message, isn't it? God cares enough about you to bring you bad dreams. How about that? And when you have them, I want you to awaken, and instantly I want you to celebrate it. You got a bad taste in your mouth and your brain. If you're not careful, a bad dream will ruin your day. Because you carry that sense with you from then on. And instead, I want you to celebrate it. Do you have the courage to celebrate a bad dream? Then I want you right then on the bed to analyze. Thank you, Akash. Thank you, Spirit. Help me to figure it out. Whatever it is, I dismiss it. The ugly feeling that you have because of the dream is still with you for an instant. I dismiss it. It's gone, and it'll stay gone. It needs to be gone, or I can't move into magnificence. Get rid of the old before you go to the new. There are going to be many channels about these kinds of things because they're new. They're germane, that is to say, those listening relate to them. Because many of you have experienced these kinds of things. You've done nothing wrong. They're not bad prophecy. They're your own innate, bringing things to you so you can see them and dismiss them. That's the power of the old soul, the consciousness of an evolved spirit over thousands of years. That's what you have. Moving into an age where you can remember what it was like to have a wisdom that will never create another war. Good news, dear ones. Personal it is. Beautiful it is. Current it is. There's never been a time like this. It's not the same old, same old. Things are starting to shift, and there are those who are feeling it. What's going on? Why am I feeling this way? Why don't I know? What should I be worried about? Oh, how linear. Celebrate the change. Whatever it is that's going on, you celebrate it. Because there's a benevolence of love in your life that will give you good things that you create with your mind. Cast away the fear of the future and start celebrating what's to come. That's the message, not just of Kryon. It's the message of the New Age. I love humanity for this, for what's to come. And so it is.
So as you sit shoulder to shoulder in this small space together and feel the connection of family, and the blessings of this family. So take another breath in about that with me. And isn't that nice? And what a beautiful opportunity to sit shoulder to shoulder and heart to heart, to all together have our feet planted on our beautiful Gaia in this magical place, in the crystal beds and the water of Berkeley Springs, and the heart and the soul of this land and the people here, and the energy that brought us all together today. So just let yourself feel more deeply into that, out of your head and into your body, and the energy that the facts carry, the energy that interests you is what draws you here. And if you didn't know what you were coming for today, perhaps these days following will unfold that for you as you learn more about your intuitive voice. And as you experience more synchronicities that lead you to more love and more family and more opening in the heart, in the soul, and in the hands of Spirit. So as we welcome the information and the guidance of the Kryon energy, we also express gratitude from the deepest parts of ourselves, welling up through us, through our feet, through Gaia, out through the top of our heads, connecting us to that beautiful, loving, cosmic vibration that we share.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. This communication, the channeling of today, will be a little different. The difference is that you need to hear an overview. I'm going to call it the overview of the future, and yet the very term future is elusive. It's not about the future that is immediate, it's about the future of the planet. This is the kind of channel that my partner has trouble with, because the things that are delivered outside of the purview of his three-dimensional brain. He receives these kinds of messages sometimes in duplicate and triplicate. At the same time he's talking to you, he gets other messages so he can enhance it. This is the best we can do to give a multi-dimensional message to a three-dimensional brain. And so he struggles sometimes. And if it takes place, he'll simply back up and give it again. It's the kind of message that you wish to review and listen to again. It's the kind of message that you might put in a time capsule. The kind that is a human time capsule, so that you might open it and understand it more fully when things have changed. It's not going to be a long channel, but it's going to be one filled with information of the kind that we not necessarily have given before. Pieces and parts of it have been alluded to. We want to paint a picture of a bigger picture. My partner talks about the shift, I talk about the shift. My partner is giving lectures on what is next, but his lectures are the pablum to what is next. But he gives it to a humanity that goes step by step and only begins to move into new areas of understanding as they examine the old ones and try to decipher what could be different. And it's slow. But that's where it begins. And if I could, I would preface all of this by telling you that what is going on Earth at this moment, we have seen before. Dear ones, if you could compare the galaxy and all of the planets that have gone through this before as a school, this would be the graduation of the first step. And as we have looked at what has taken place in this galaxy with others before you, we know what's coming. Because the steps that are next for you are the same steps that were taken before. What you describe as human consciousness isn't. It's consciousness. It only belongs to the human because you're human. It's the same kind of thing. Energy. The attributes and the confluences of the energies are almost identical. That the consciousness that the other planets have gone through. And the reason is because life is similar. Some almost identical from planet to planet to planet, because the galaxy is made up of fractals. From the smallest to the largest, you're going to see repetitive parts of the same thing. It's a beautiful system. And what it means is it gives rise on other planets. One, perhaps right now, that's just getting life. The building blocks of DNA, getting ready to be seeded by you in the future. DNA. Same kind as you have. The same amino acid structures as you have is common to all. So we've seen this before. You're a young civilization, dear one. A young. So young it's hard to even give you a perspective of how young. Your civilization hasn't even been around the galaxy one time yet. Hardly. The almost 200 million years that it takes to go around one time, one rev. There are societies and civilizations that have been around 3 revs. The Pleiadians, half a rev. To tell you how old some life is in this galaxy, way before you. Some of them visit you. None of them are able to influence you to the degree that you can influence yourselves. Galaxy teems with life. And you're well hidden, by the way. We've seen this before. I want to tell you a bigger picture. Your youth and how young you are starts to explain why the earth has been through such a horrendous time. Civilization looks ugly to you. Your past and your history filled with survival and killing, weaponry, mass destruction, no elegance of thought for life, torture. They all went through that. They all did. Because civilization builds itself as your children build themselves as a metaphor through life. There comes a time, and we've said it before, where a child becomes self-aware and the ego takes over and all they think of is themselves and survival. On the playground at school, some of them become bullies just to survive. Some of them never get over it. And they're bullies as adults because they never moved into the elegance of the wisdom that you have. As you grow up, there becomes a knowledge and a wisdom that occurs to you that there's a better way to solve problems through listening and cooperation. You have to survive. But the children don't know that. And they will flail, and generation after generation, you bring up children and they'll do the same thing, and they'll go through the terrible 2s and the thrashing 3s and the teenage years, and it's over, and hopefully they'll grow up. And if I could be so simplistic to apply this to human civilization, let me do it. You're still on the playground. You're still pushing each other around. You're still getting reactions. You're still in survival. Until about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even 50, where it started to shift just a little. We have told you over and over, I'm not going to visit it again, what the timetable was, what the calendar said, why I'm here. No, I want to go further than that in this particular channel. I want to talk to you about energy not seen. We're going to talk about this in 2 places in this channel, and this is the first. Energy not seen. There is a complement of energy in the galaxy that interests you, and you can't see it. But you want to. Because it touches you in ways that are fascinating. This unseen energy is responsible for what the New Agers sense first. You're able to pick up energy in someone's aura somehow, some way. A medical intuitive can actually feel what is wrong. The aura broadcasts sickness, health, joy. What is that? Wouldn't you like to bottle it and take it home and analyze it, and you can't? The very institute that puts this event on, so interested in these energies, unseen energies that make a difference. What is it a reader reads, or a psychic feels, or a futurist can futurize? Where does it come from? Why is it so elusive? And I'm going to tell you in just a moment a little bit more about this. For it's the key to the future. A child would not know about the elegance of wisdom, how to put things together instead of tearing them apart. A child who is ego-driven, who is only waking up to being self-aware, is only going to do what the child does. The only equipment the child has in its very elementary way is going to lash out in certain ways and do certain things. And if you gave them a plate of wisdom, they'd look at it and they'd have no idea what it was and throw it away. This is all about to change. Because this unseen energy has attributes you don't know anything about, and you're discovering. First of all, everything about this unseen energy, which we call the quantum consciousness of humanity, is starting to enhance itself so that it'll be a little more obvious. If I took you to another civilization, like the Pleiadian, like the Orion, the Arcturian, if I took you to any of those, you would not recognize anything. First of all, they don't have technology. How about that? Because physical things that do things, they threw away long ago when they realized that the physics of human consciousness could do everything they ever wanted. That's where it's going. And you still wonder what it is. Truly, what is this? How does it work? Is it quantitative? If you have more of it, does it do more things? And the answer is no. Now, we have given you some hints about it. Human consciousness has no succinct definition I could give you that would make any sense at all. Because we have told you that less than 1%, 0.5% of humanity has to awaken in a certain way to affect the entire planet. Now that ought to tell you it's not quantitative. It's not 3D, is it? Less than 0.5%. If you really want to know the numbers, if you need the numbers, that ought to tell you something. It's not about how many of you there are, dear ones. It really isn't. Because there is something hiding here. There is a system, a confluence of systems that you don't know anything about. So let's talk about them. Now, this is not going to be understandable to all of you. That is why you're going to listen to this again if you choose, and others will put it in a time capsule if they choose, and these things may very well pop up later, and you'll go, oh. How do you explain the internet to somebody who's never seen a computer? Where do you begin? How do you explain the elegance of a race car to somebody who hasn't invented a wheel yet? And this is the issue. How do I tell you about what you have no concept of and you're not ready to know because you got to walk through the steps? So let me give you some building blocks and some metaphors. There's something called a wisdom barrier. The wisdom barrier is what we have described as what happens in human consciousness when certain attributes occur that are not quantitative. That is to say, it's not about how many. It's about other things that will occur within the physics of consciousness that you don't know yet anything about this system that must occur in a certain way. In a distributed way, not a centralized way, in order to break this barrier called the wisdom barrier. And when it is broken, what it tells us is that humanity has passed a point where it is in survival mode and goes to a mode that starts to build the wisdom of getting along. The wisdom that enhances the brains of all humanity to a point where they can agree on something that they never even knew before without actually having it taught. Did you hear that? Now, you didn't expect that. It surrounds the human being in such a way and the civilization in such a way that when you're born, it becomes second nature. The wisdom of getting along. It's called the wisdom barrier. Now let me tell you what's happening. You're there. And it's not going to give you fireworks or sparks in the sky. There's not going to be a celebration. There's not going to be balloons. Except on my side of the veil. And there's all of those. You're looking into the very essence of it. You are peeking into what makes it work. You're about to push the envelope that will affect all humanity. Not just the light workers, not just the old souls. You're about to push a button on physics you didn't know existed. Now this is a biggie. The missing piece. How do I explain this? My partner, go very slow. Humanity explains things only from what they know, not what they don't know. Here's an example. You look into space, science looks into space, and they find attributes they cannot explain that do not seem to be Newtonian. But Newtonian physics is the gold standard of motion everywhere. And so the human being struggles to find formulas that will put the unexplained into Newtonian boxes. Welcome to dark matter. You're going to laugh later. And we have told you this before, but this is the human propensity. Take what is known, observe what is unknown but there, and place it into the boxes of the known. Even if they're convoluted, even if they don't make sense, even if they're mysterious. Instead of looking and saying, maybe, just maybe, there are missing laws of physics we don't know about that would explain this and that and this and that. Well, let me tell you one of the biggest places that you're missing. The place of the physics of consciousness. Listen to me. How do you define consciousness? Well, it's developed through very special thought of humans and this and that. No, it isn't. Consciousness is physics, and you should get used to this. You are developing it through human thought, unaware that there are rules of consciousness, and it is a part of quantum physics. There are rules, there are postulates, there are beautiful attributes of the physics of consciousness that are going to start to explain what's going to happen in the future, but you don't see it that way. The missing piece is the knowledge that you can track this, that you can plot it, you can create it, even outside of humanity. Did you know that? It's beautiful, because when I start to tell you some of the attributes of the physics of consciousness, you're going to go, oh. What are the attributes of physics? What do you know? The answer is actually very little, but what you do know, you experiment with, you create things. The very technology that you have that is so beautiful on this planet is brought to you by the knowledge of the physics that you know. And there's cause and reaction. You build this and this happens. You put together certain kinds of things, and through all of the principles and the rules that you understand and the 4 basic laws that you have out of 6, you know what they are and you're using them. Beautiful. Now, what if I told you that that same scenario exists in consciousness? There are laws of consciousness that are just like the laws of physics, in that there's causal, there's effect. But in a quantum world, they're not linear. And so they create certain kinds of things. The physics of consciousness, being quantum and not linear, creates attributes that are going to create the future of this planet. And now, my partner, it gets hard. Because I'm showing my partner things right now, and he can't verbalize this. So I'm going to say, do your best. He sees the emotion of it. And he goes, oh, if you knew the physics of consciousness, you can build a better world. It has attributes. First of all, it does not travel from place to place. It does not travel in a straight direction. It does not travel. Consciousness is not in one place going to another. Consciousness does not expand. It does not get bigger or smaller. Consciousness is. Consciousness of physics, just like attributes of physics, sit there ready to be enhanced or not based upon other laws around it. And when they're applied, then they all change. Consciousness. Let me tell you about a couple of them. One is called the benevolence factor. Did you know that as the physics of consciousness is explored and the wisdom factor is applied and the barrier is passed, what happens next is an exponential understanding and application of the rules of consciousness that create a factor which generates benevolent action. Oh, that's convoluted, my partner. Can you say that better? Let me tell you this way. Right now on this planet, there's a struggle between forces. Because of the consciousness that you have developed here, and the rules that you have put in place through the physics of consciousness, there is an allowance right now of many things on this planet that we've never talked about. Is there evil on the planet? Yep. Are there entities dedicated to come in and mess with you? Yes. Is that shocking? And why is that? And why would that be? Because this test allows it. Because what you have created in the physics of consciousness and the rules that have applied and how you're using it allow it. But the next step past the wisdom barrier enhances those very patterns of consciousness that you're going to discover as part of physics that close the door. Did you get that? When the rules of physics are applied in certain situations, you can control what happens. It's the same in consciousness. When you reach a point of understanding the physics of consciousness, how it works, the mechanics of it, the distribution of it. Listen, I'm giving my partner something and he's going to say it and it's not going to make sense to anything. The spiral delivery of it. Now that's going to make sense to somebody. You shut the door. And the things that have visited this planet can't anymore. And those places of darkness that would want to come in and play with your consciousness because it's at the teenage level of physics can't get in. That's the best explanation we have for what is going to happen in the future. And the Pleiadians are jumping up and down because they know what happened. It's almost an exponential evolution if you want it to be. One thing leads to another. It builds on itself. You don't have to start all over every single time you're born, like my partner described today. You come in with the factors that you learned before and build upon them. If I could use a term, born wise, I would. And it's going to change everything. And then when the physics is revealed, you'll understand why there are machines that can work with consciousness. But you're not going to need them. Not long. How many generations are required, Kryon? I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. The reason is I don't want to give you a setup that'll spoil the party. Because every single planet has had its own time cycle of the delivery of this through their own free choice. How does it work? How fast does it work? When will it start? It's already started. You are at the wisdom barrier. Once you are at the wisdom barrier, I would like to tell you that the track record of all the planets who have reached the wisdom barrier are the same. They all move forward. Every single one. You threw a switch. And no amount of dark energy can stop it. Oh, it'll try. I told you that before. Humans invested in old ways. Like the kids on the playground who don't want to grow up. They'll flail. They'll bully until their last breath. But they will awaken in a world, and they haven't got a chance to do it again. And this is what we're talking about. The benevolent factor, the wisdom barrier, these things start to work in the laws of the consciousness of physics in ways that you will indeed figure out. creating increased DNA percentage activation, creating generation after generation, eventually, I won't tell you how long, of a human being who can create things out of nothing, who have control over physics, which is a lower kind of physics. The highest kind of physics is consciousness. And consciousness physics can control 3D physics any day. I'll wrap this up by telling you all of you are going to be there to see it. All of you. Every single one. Because that is the plan, old soul. You come back and you enter a world that you always wished you could have. Peace on earth? Oh, that's easy. That's the beginning. That's planting the seeds. That's a given. Look at your news. It's not going to look like it, is it? That's just today. Peace on earth. That's not the goal. Hardly. That's just a given. When you grow up and you're an adult, you stop throwing stones at each other on the playground. You stop. You have a more elegant idea. That's peace on earth. That's the beginning. The very beginning. And then it gets good. This is what we see. I've never said these things in this way. I wanted you to hear the full story. What would happen to a civilization that could create anything it wanted physically, was never hungry, who could live as long as they wanted to, could put themselves in a quantum state if they wanted to, who had different sets of ideas of the way things should work, who had no central control? Did you hear that? Have you ever heard of a managerless corporation? It's like that. And you would say, oh, that can't work. Oh, yes, it can. That's what you're headed for. Government decentralized to where there is none. There will be no such thing as world government, dear ones. Instead, there will be world consciousness agreement. You'll know better. How about that? What happens to a group of adults who go to a party for the first time and they've never met each other? What do? Throw rocks at each other? No, there's a consciousness of the party. They get together. They talk to each other. They have fun. What about a planet that had just that? They're born into a situation where they know better. That's the wisdom factor. That's the barrier you're crossing. It allows you to throw away any other system you ever thought you needed, especially the ones that organize you into groups to do things. It will be second nature. You'll all know together. Too good to be true? Ask a Pleiadian. Ask those from Orion. Ask those from Arcturus. Ask any planet of free choice. Because they're all looking at you right now. This room is filled with them. And they're nodding their heads and say, right on, right on, right on. You just wait. You'll be there.